All right, here we are. Beautiful. Just get all this set up. Lovely. All right. Welcome back. This is day 4. We've only got one day to go. And I do want to let you know that on Monday being about the 1st of July, we are going to do a Q&A, and it won't be live into YouTube. But for those of you that have registered, it will be Zoom only. We're not Zooming in anywhere. We're just going to be here on Zoom, cameras on, unmuted, and let's have a talk about what you've discovered, any questions you have. That will be on Monday night at 5 p.m. Adelaide time. Okay, and you'll get an email. If you've registered, you'll get an email with all of those details on it. So I look forward to chatting with you then. Now, we are live in YouTube, so if you have any questions and you're watching live, pop them in the chat. Those of you registered, you can jump on Zoom here. Segs and I are here together. But let's get started. I don't love long trainings. I like to just give you what I've got and send you off to let it, percolate. And yeah, because do you know the work here in living the best of ourselves is all about you. And so it's very individual. The expression of the life that you want to be living is very individual. However, the laws that govern our being and the universe that we live in, they are the same and have been from the dawn of time and will be forever. And so that's what we're learning here. It might not sound like it at times. It's just, questions and things. But what I'm doing is helping you to discover you. And like I said, the Q&A, you can come and ask anything, any question at all. I am very well versed in this. I study it daily and have done for 8 years. And I worked with the best in the world. My personal mentor and friend until he left this earthly life was Mr. Bob Proctor. And I was only telling someone today how grateful I am that he went live like I am in YouTube, because that's where I found him. And he did indeed. He helped me understand how to change my conditioning, and everything in my life changed and continues to. And I remember sitting with him one afternoon having a cup of tea, and I was sort of saying, I feel like I'm starting to get a handle on how all this works. And he said, yeah, me too. I said, Bob, how long have you been doing this? And it was 60 years. And there I was at about year 6 in this work. So the deeper you go, the deeper you can go. And, the better it gets, the better it gets. That's how it works. So be encouraged. If it feels like for you, and this might be the first time you're hearing this sort of information, and I know when I first heard it, I had to go really slowly, and that's why workbooks are good. Just go over and over, and you will get the replays. If you've registered, you'll get the replays emailed to you. Okay, and so just spend some time with you. My goodness me, there's nothing better to do if you really are looking to live a life that is the best you. And the best you is best for everyone around you. Believe me, that is the truth, even though that might not seem the way it is for you right now. And so how did you go with the homework last night? We were talking about, devoting that 10 minutes a day to your development of your self-confidence, confidence in yourself. And that was not something I had a lot of when I first began. However, as you study and you start to learn the truth about you and the universe you live in, it's the knowledge that gives you the confidence. It's a bit like jumping out of a plane. I've never done that, by the way, but if I was in a plane and I've been given a parachute, I would want to know, is this a cheap as chips parachute? Or is this been made by somebody who knows? Or is this just a random, jump out and hope for the best? The more knowledge you have, the more confidence you have. If I knew it was made by someone who absolutely knew how parachutes work and all the best material to use, I would jump out more confidently than if it was unknown. And so the knowledge you're gaining by doing these exercises is going to start to build your confidence in you. Okay. And I can tell you, life becomes such a journey. I was talking to one of the people I work with today, and he has had, yes, a journey. It's been like this. And, you know, the ups and the downs happen for us to reveal us to ourselves. And when you see life that way, then it becomes a joyous adventure. No matter if you're on the mountain or in the valley, you know that the whole process, this whole journey is happening for you to get very clear on who you are and what you have, as I say, under the hood. There is so much to you, and the world is waiting. The world is waiting for you to just show up. And so let's get started for today. I've labeled call today, Clearly Me. Now, there's such small little nuggets that we're talking about each day here. There's so much I could be sharing with you. However, you will find your own depth as you do the work. So the part of the confidence, the self-confidence formula, and if you'd like this is my version of the self-confidence formula that's been passed down through decades, you know, many years. We're on point 4, and it says, I am constantly writing down a clear description of my definite chief aim in life. I am constantly writing down a clear description of my definite chief aim in life. And I'm continually growing in self-confidence and its attainment. 2 lines, so many takeaways. So let's explore this. The first part of it is I'm constantly writing down a clear description of my definite chief aim in life. Now, how many of you could say, yeah, I'm doing that? Yes, I write down daily my definite chief aim. That's very old language, isn't it? But are you definitely clear about what you're here to do? Now, as I said yesterday, I was very young, 22, with 2 very young children when my husband passed away. I'm grateful for that event now. What are we, 35 years on? But at the time, I was not grateful. I was not happy. In fact, I was furious, and I had some things to say to the powers that be. And I eventually did do that, have a very big rant with the powers that be, and I let them know this is not what I wanted for my life. Now, I can absolutely, confidently, and truly say to you, I am eternally grateful for that event in my life, because I know where I was as a person at that time. And that shocking event, it woke me up big time. And some things that happened around it, actually from my young, nearly 3-year-old daughter at the time, really shocked me awake. And you might have had such a wake-up call. Until that point, I certainly wasn't writing down a clear description of my definite chief aim, because I had never given that any thought. And I was just, to be honest, I was walking through life, dodging and ducking and weaving and batting and trying to survive. And that survival walk of mine did not involve me being myself. In fact, if you'd said, who are you? I would have looked at you like, what are you talking about? I'm me. What you see is me. And that's not true. When I'm now very conscious of how I was living, and I was shoving down everything in me in order to live the days like I was living them. And that can't go on forever, not if you're going to be a healthy human being. So I went on to do that for many years. So constantly writing down a clear description of my definite chief aim. What is your definite chief aim? We did talk about that, your definite purpose in day 1. What is your definite purpose? You might not have it clear cut right now, but that is the reason that we write it down. Did you know, and I didn't know this until 8 years ago, that writing, and I mean not typing, but writing with our hand, shaping the letters, making the words, expressing our thoughts in writing, causes deep thinking. Isn't that fascinating? The very act of writing causes deep thinking. And so every day when I continually, constantly write the description of my definite chief aim. Now, I want you to be clear on this. This is not me writing it in a begging sort of way, like I'm writing this out so that the infinite intelligence will hear me. It's not me asking every day with my petition, I want this, I want this, I want this, I'm here to do this, I'm here to do this. It's not that. My asking and your asking is done as soon as we're conscious of it. Okay, as soon as I was conscious, I want to help people with this information, it was done. I didn't have the full picture of what the doneness looked like, and I still don't. That's unfolding, and I'm walking that path as it unfolds. And it's a beautiful journey, one like this. However, the writing, what does the writing do? Well, it stimulates deep thinking. Deep thinking. And I have to tell you a quick story. This would have been about 2 years into my journey, if that. And I'd woken up on a Saturday morning and I'd been studying, you know, when I say studying, I'd been reading information. I was working with Bob Proctor and I was doing the study spasmodically at best. And I woke up on this Saturday morning and I had a real desire to just sit by the window and write out my vision for my life. What did I want? And so I did that. I got pen and paper and I started writing and just let the thoughts come and pour out onto the page. Anything that I imagined and that came to mind. And as I was writing, physically writing, I had an inkling in me, and it came out onto the page that I am an international speaker. And I've heard Bob Proctor talk about it, that he had once been watching a speaker and thought, I'd love to do that. Now, I don't know that I'd consciously had that experience because I was also very shy, as was he, before he became what we saw of him. But on this day, I was writing about my life and how I was helping people in teaching this material. And out onto the page came, I'm an international speaker. And I only wrote it once. And I remember thinking, oh, wow, yeah, I would like that. And I never went back and petitioned it again, but it was there, the asking was there, and it's done as soon as we ask. So it's not the petitioning. And the events that unfolded in the next 3-4 years saw me speaking internationally. In fact, I'd spoken more internationally than I had in Australia up until recently. So the constant writing is not your petition. The constant writing is stimulating the deep thinking, the thinking that you're not yet aware of. And it's also expressing it. You know, when I started writing about the life that I desired, I wasn't going to talk to anybody about it because I was not at a place where I believed it either. You know, and if I told my friends and family, maybe they would have locked me up. I'm sure my grown daughters thought I'd lost my marbles for a little bit there, flying back and forth internationally, learning from this old gentleman. You know, they could see things were changing, and they thought, you know, has she lost it? But what was happening was that I was being reminded of what my desires were. I was expressing them in writing. So I wasn't talking to other people about it, but I was talking to myself about it. And the expression of it, getting it out of me onto the paper and being able to see it, stimulating deep thinking the whole time. And so this sentence, I'm constantly writing down a clear description of my definite chief aim in life, is so important. Are you doing that? And I would invite you to do that. Write it down constantly to allow the expression of it. And it's not, like I said, it's not a petition. You know it's done, but you allow the expression of it and you allow the more of it to surface. Okay. When I began doing this work, and I observe this with people I work with all the time, they arrive first up and they say, I'm not really sure what I want. And some say, I don't even know what I want. That was me. I don't know what I want. The truth is, you are not aware, perhaps, of what you want, but it's in you and it is looking to rise to the surface. And as you start engaging in this work and doing what you're doing this week, asking some questions, listening to some truths, the truth in you resonates, right? That's why you're here. It's like, this sort of feels good. And I'm not here to make you feel good and to entertain you. I'm here to help you transform you. And that's what starts to happen. What's in you, the truth in you, the essence of you is rising. And as you bring out what's in, there'll be more that could rise and come out onto the paper, into your awareness. And it's such a beautiful thing. The day that I had the rant with the powers that be, when my young daughter had actually demanded her daddy, she said to me, I just want my daddy, in a fit of, we were having a bit of an altercation. And she spat those words at me with such determination and frustration. And that's what prompted me to go down the passage and have these words with the universe and say, I'm not happy about this. That's the nice, polite version. And that rant, I believe, and I look back and I think so much came out of me. I expressed all this frustration and blame and shame and all manner of things came out of my mouth, almost like, I see it almost like a vomit of all this trash thinking. And it came out. And at the very end of that, when I said, this is not what I wanted for my life, I was so furious. And then as I gasped for air at the end of that rant, the words that landed were an answer to my, this is not what I wanted for my life. And the question was, what do you want? That's what I heard in my mind. What do you want? And that was not me thinking that. Those words arrived, and I believe they arrived because that's what's in me. That's what's in you. The spirit of life in you wants to make you aware of what you want. But we've got to get rid of all the trash on top. And as I vomited out all that stuff that I'd been packing down, I'd had things go on as a child. I'd pack that down, the victim. And then my husband dies, another victim. And I could feel the rumbling. And you might feel the rumbling of, what? I'm so not happy with my life. So get it out. Talk about it to yourself, not to others. You want to get this trash out into the bin and take it out, not keep rummaging through it. Get it out so that you can then say, what is in me? Because I know, without even knowing you, that there is life in you looking to be expressed, and it is powerful and it is beautiful. However, we are not robots. We are not controlled by it. We are inspired by it, and we're invited by it to get curious and then live a life of joy. And it is such a joyful journey. I was talking with a new client today, a new community member, and I just get so excited for them because I know where they're going and I know where they're at. I've been there. And you think, God, I hope this is true. I hoped with all my heart and all my finances. I stuck so much into it as a last hope. And I'm telling you, you can depend on what you're learning here. It's truth. You can rest on it. It's solid, never changing, and ever powerful. And so this constantly writing this clear description is powerful. And I would invite you to do it. And I've said here, the first question on your worksheet today, why is writing so powerful? Because it stimulates deep thinking, deep awareness in you. And so do it with that intention. Okay, don't try to think about it. I didn't try to think about what am I going to write on this, and then the speaker business came up. It just came up as I was letting flow onto the paper what I wanted for my life. Just let it be a joyful, peaceful, easy exercise. Okay, it's not an intellectual exercise. It's more of a What am I aware of? And just let it flow. And so I've left you some space there. Write a clear description of your chief aim in life. And mine started out as I just want to help people with this information. That's not very, doesn't give too much instruction on how that looks, but I knew that was the essence of it. And then you go from there. It's like painting a picture. You start with a bit of a vague outline of where things are going to be and what the things are. And then you go and you build in the detail. Okay. You never see an artist go in and just bam, detailed picture. There's always a process. And it is for our revelation of the chief aim in life. Okay. It is in you. You might not be aware of it, but it's there. And so you're writing this clear description. And I've just asked you that in doing so, as you're writing, consider if you only had a short time to live, what would you want to do? Or what would you regret not having done? Now, the reason I write that sounds a bit morbid, but death is a certainty. What we're not certain of is how long have we got? And yes, it was impressed upon me, a very big emotional impact at 22, that death is certain and it's final. It's so final. It's not like, oh yeah, okay, that's a good practice run. Let's come back and do that again. No. And so I am serious about this work. You are here to express something. And we've seen people who've gone before us who've changed the course of humanity with what they've brought to the table. That might be you. And I know that it's you in some way, whether it's to millions of people or to a few people. If you change the life of somebody by what you bring, then you've changed the course of life for them, and who knows what they go on to do. So I want you to, the reason I've said consider if you only had a short time to live is because I want you to do that seriously. We get so comfortable and so lulled into this false sense of, oh, I've got time. And as I said yesterday, I was aware last Saturday night, a person that I knew, not close, but I knew him, an associate, passed away suddenly. And you've all had experiences like that, no doubt. Let it be a reminder to get on with what you're here to do. Do not put this off. And I will be in touch with you. And I do hope that you'll come to our Q&A on Monday night next week, same time, cameras on. Let's talk about what you're doing and where you're going. I'm here to help you get started because, yeah, it can be scary, but it's so rewarding and it's so full of joy as you take that movement. So consider if you had a short time to live, what would you want to do? What would you regret not having done? Those two questions are to help you, access those things that it's like, actually, I really want this. I remember sitting with my dad when he'd been given his diagnosis and he had 9 weeks, and dutifully, that's how long he lived after that. And I remember saying to him on that day one, is there anything you want to do? Like, let's do it. Let's do it. And he was a pretty happy guy. And he said, no, I'm good. But as I had conversations with him in those next 9 weeks, he said things like, I don't think I took parenting seriously or seriously enough, and I didn't express the things that were on my heart. And I remember him looking at me, and this will resonate with many of you, I'm sure. I said to him one day, Dad, I want to be more like you. That's what I want to do. He was such a beautiful person. That's what I saw. And he looked at me straight in the eye and he said, no. He said, I've not expressed myself. And if you don't express yourself, it makes you sick. And that was his state at that time. And that really hit me. Because my dad was not someone that told people things. He was a quiet man, but he wanted me to receive that because I was very similar, very quiet, kept it to myself, sucked it up. You're not here to do that. You are not here to keep the status quo. You are here to shine, to unleash the brilliance in you in the way that only you can. And so as you answer this, what's my clear description of my chief aim in life? Don't act like you've got until you're 90. Unless, of course, you're 89 now. But you want to get on with this. What would you regret not having done? Let those things surface. And I've written a question here, or a statement that I wanted you to finish. I'm constantly writing this because it is so powerful. It is such a reminder. You can fill it in with whatever you feel that's being revealed to you as you listen to this. I am constantly writing this because why will you choose to constantly write? For me, once I discovered this, I wanted to discover more and more. I'm eager to live my life. And that means the life that's in me. I'm eager to live that, to get in touch with that, to express that. There's no safer path for us. The universe, the infinite intelligence, is not going to hang itself out to dry. You've got a desire. Allow yourself to uncover that. Write it out constantly and allow it to pour out of you. It's so powerful. And then as you step into that, it's going to be a beautiful journey. Not always a bed of roses. And when it's not a bed of roses, I was just talking to someone just before this training saying, it's easy for us to drop the gratitude and to go, you know what, I don't like this. Like me that day where I'm like, this is not what I wanted and this is rah, rah, rah. It's easy for us to go there. But as soon as we stop with the gratitude and being grateful for our here and now, and we stop looking for the good in it, we start to lose ground. We start to lose our connection with that spirit that's in us. Because that spirit in you is just, it's love, it's joy, it is gratitude, all of those beautiful things. And when we start expressing differently and getting involved in that way of thinking, we're so disconnected and you will feel uninspired because you are not in spirit anymore. You're over here now on some ledge and the life in you is not going to join you there. It's for us to come back to it. So I haven't even looked at my notes. Hopefully I've covered off. So this clearly you, constantly writing it, get it expressed, allow the deep thinking to emerge. And you're constantly growing. So on the homework page, I've put the second half of that sentence that says, I'm continually growing in self-confidence and its attainment, the attainment of your chief purpose in life. Okay. I'm constantly growing in self-confidence, confidence in myself to do the thing, to be the thing, to create the thing. That's what will happen as you continually write and become so familiar with it. So familiar with it. Right now, when I first start on a new section of my vision, it's lofty because that's the way I was taught by my mentor. If you're going to go for something, go for it. Like stretch that imagination of yours and say, actually, what if this is possible? And as you do that, you are going to grow and stretch yourself. That's what your chief aim in life is for, is to reveal you, is to grow you. And so continually growing in that self-confidence and the attainment of my definite chief aim in life. Change is inevitable. I don't know how old all of you are, but you already would have experienced change. Some of it you've created yourself, some of it's just been brought upon you, but it's always for you. Change is inevitable, but the personal growth is the choice. Okay? Up until that day when I had my rant, was not choosing anything. And even in not choosing anything for me, I was making a choice and saying, well, I'm going to live as a victim. For me was my choice. Do you choose personal growth, or are you going to remain ignorant of the truth? or you're here and you're listening to this. And so you've already chosen growth. And, you know, once you know it, you can't unknow it. I remember Bob Proctor saying to me, don't you ever give up. You know this stuff. You keep going. And there have been days, sometimes weeks, where I think, you know what, I wish I could unknow this and just be ignorant, but not really. It's just that some days it's like, oh, the growth, it's uncomfortable. And sometimes you just love to go back to the comfort zone of not knowing. But if you're honest, and if I'm honest, and I look back, I think that wasn't actually comfortable either. Just ignorance can be bliss. I was drowning out a lot of it with various behaviors and habits. And so I've written down here for you to answer. And, you know, this, it sounds so simple, but it's very symbolic and it's very powerful. Am I choosing to grow? Because you can come onto any amount of these trainings, as I did for 27 years, read books, you know, listened to stuff and was doing personal development, doing it, but it wasn't doing me. Nothing was changing. Frustration was building. Am I choosing to grow? It's like joining the gym and saying, yeah, I'm going to go and get fit. I've joined a gym. I've paid the money. And I even go and sit in a cafe and have coffee. That's not choosing growth. You've got to choose what you want. And I'm telling you, when you choose it in the spirit, get into the spirit of what you've chosen, things start to move. It's like one of those travelators, you know, you can sort of look at it and you think, oh, it's sort of moving along. But when you put your foot on it, it really moves. So are you choosing to grow? Write your answer there. And if you write yes, that's an awareness. You've made a decision. You're choosing growth. Well done. Congratulations. It's like game on. So when I choose growth, I choose change. Isn't that the truth? And I start to choose the change that I want to see rather than batting it away and, you know, fearing the next onslaught. I'm choosing the change because I'm constantly writing down a clear description of my definite chief aim in life. And your thoughts are creative, very powerful. Did you know that thought energy is faster than light energy? That's very fast. Nothing can stand in the way of it. In fact, it's all around you. It's in you. It's in everything. So when I choose growth, I choose change. What changes do I want to make? Now, I've made that word large, want. I'm not asking you what changes do you need to make. That word need is a very lack word. It puts you in that needy state. I want you to position yourself in the desire state. What do you desire? Desire is very powerful, very powerful. It comes from within you. It's innate in you. What changes do I want to make? Very different energy. And I've listed a few areas for you to prompt you there. What changes do I want to make in my thinking? So I want you to think for a minute. Am I aware of the way I think? And like I said, was it yesterday on this training or on a live I did? It's a good practice to set a few alarms on your phone that will interrupt you during your day at various times. And when that happens, just for you to go, what was I thinking at that time? So that you start to become aware of what you're thinking. And are you happy with that? Does your thinking make you feel good? Does your thinking light you up? Because remember where we started this training, you get to choose what you think. Isn't that amazing? It doesn't mean you do choose, but what changes would you make to your thinking? You do have a choice and you can list them there. You know, I started to decide, I decided to start not allowing myself to think like a victim. And that took some serious concentration because I was well steeped in that, very habitual for me at that time. I was nearly 50. So I'd been doing it for nearly 50 years, daily, day in, day out. So what things in your thinking? You might be, you know, I'm not going to think lack anymore. I'm going to think abundance. And if you're local in Adelaide, we have a breakfast or an after work event once a month, and we talk about prosperity, abundance, and all that looks like, how to create it, how to sustain it. So what changes would you like to make in your thinking? Second question, in the way you feel. And so the natural reaction in you might be, as was mine, you can't change the way you feel, you just feel. And I remember having an argument, a debate with my mentor when he suggested that it was up to me how I felt. And of course, I was still in the victim mentality. And I said to him, so you're telling me my husband dies, I'm left with 2 children. I paint the big, sob story. And I say to him, and you're telling me I get to choose how I feel. And he looked me in the eye and he said, yes, I am. And I remember thinking, this guy, I thought he was the real deal, but now, and that was all again, just victim thinking, choosing to feel like a victim. Thankfully, I'd paid a lot of money and I wasn't going to just walk out the door. So I hung around long enough to mull that over and to talk some more. And I learned that the way I perceive things, the perspective I take, the perception I make, the thinking that I generate around any condition in my life is going to affect the way I feel. It's going to dictate the way I feel. And so, of course, as I looked at my situation through victim eyes and victim language, the victim voice in my mind, I felt like a victim. But as I started to learn, how else could I view this? Could I adopt the thinking that actually there's good in this? That was one of the first things I remember being taught. Look for the good in every situation. And some situations, it's quite the treasure hunt, looking under every nook and cranny to find the good. But while you're looking for that, you're not noticing the other. And what you look for, you will find. It's magical. And so as I started to look for the good in my situation, I started to feel good because I was thinking good. We do become what we think about. And we don't get what we want, we get who we are. And so if I get who I am and I'm thinking like a victim and I'm becoming in that state of being a victim, I'm going to get what a victim would get. But when I start thinking, looking for the good, knowing there's good, looking for that, I become good, I attract good. Isn't that magical? Sounds so simple. And it is. It's just not easy because we've got a conditioning that's running quite opposite to that most of the time. But we can change it. And so the third question, what changes do I want to make in the action I'm taking? Now, the good news about this, and most people get this upside down, I certainly did for many years, I thought my results came from my actions. And so I was very focused on, I've got to do this, be this, do all this stuff to make it happen. And that's quite upside down. The first thing is my thinking. Think about what I want. Feel like I already have it because I know it's done. When you study this long enough, you too will know it's done. And then my action comes from a place of inspiration. I feel this and I act this way. It's like on the opposite end of the scale. When I felt like a victim, I acted like a victim. I decided I didn't want to act like a victim anymore. And that was hard to change if I was just going to come at it from that angle, change my action. But when I started to change my thinking first, repeatedly, I noticed a change in my state of being, my feeling, my emotion. Then the action followed. Remember, our body is an instrument of our mind. That's the truth. Thank goodness. And of course, on the other end, it can be disastrous. But we know now you're not any more ignorant. If you're listening to this, you can no longer claim ignorance. You might need to practice it, And that's why I exist, to help people, support them, teach them, encourage them, and empower them. And so let me just have a quick look here. I think we've covered off everything. This little quote here really hit me. So before I say it, I want to say this first. The me that is you, the very essence of the being that's in you, you're a human being, that me is clearly revealed in your desires, okay? In your goals, personal and professional. It's really funny. I always felt like there was something missing for me. And I put it down to my childhood and all the stuff that happened there. And okay, so I'm never going to feel that good. And then my husband died, and I'm never going to feel that good. But really now I see clearly that the me that was looking to be expressed through my desires and my goals, professional and personal, it wasn't being expressed because I wasn't following it. I wasn't even allowing myself to go there. But when I did, oh my goodness, the fulfillment. Even thinking about that, it's like I'm allowing myself to be filled with my desire to the point where it's expressed. And so here, I want you to hear this, and you may have heard this before, but I love it. I love going over this. It's not who I am that holds me back. You have a beautiful essence in you that's looking to be expressed. It's not that you are that's holding you back. It's who you think you're not. First time I heard that, I was like, I need to hear that again. It's not who you are that holds you back. You have everything you need. You have the power to do and be and create anything that you desire. So it's not that that's holding you back. And it's not any of your circumstances, as much as you might beg to differ. It is who you think you're not. There it is, the thinking. What if your definite chief aim in life, whatever that is, what if you are that right now? What if you are perfect for that? Because that is the truth. You may not be aware of it. You may not be thinking like that, feeling like that, or acting like that, but your desire does not lie. You have everything you need. I was not a speaker. I was not someone that was going to sit here and talk to you like I am 8 years ago. But I couldn't be happier now, having followed it. But I followed it with the understanding. And so, you know, coming on a training like this, finding people that know this and are genuinely there to help you. That's what you need to do. That's what I did. That's what you want to do, not need to. You don't need to do anything. You can choose. It's what you want to do. If you want to jump into this life full on, full speed ahead, fully charged, fully authentically you. All right. So we've been through the homework. Yeah. Decide that you want to grow into this. Get very clear on who you want to be. Clearly you, not in relation to anyone else, but who are you? It's funny, I remember talking to the clients a little while ago. We were talking about this whole authentic business. And, you know, when you're put under pressure, the real you, the juice comes out. And I've seen that often with people. They might look a certain way, but then you put them in a situation that's not so great. They're put under pressure and you start to see who they really are. And I was using James Bond. I don't know if you've watched those movies, but, you know, my dad used to watch them all the time. James Bond, always suave, smooth, you know, together, never flustered. Doesn't matter if he's just been blown to smithereens out of a boat or whatever it is. He picks himself up and he's like, I'm James Bond. This is me. And so I want you to think about who you are. No matter what happens, you've got an essence in you, and that is you. There is a place. There is a place. I'm going there. This is my definite chief aim in life. I am on my way and acting this out. I'm expressing this out. there is a place. The place that you're imagining is a place in the spiritual realm at this stage, but it moves into physical form with and through you. Decide this thing I will do, this thing I will be. I am, because I have that desire. And when you decide, it flips your brain onto a different frequency when you decide. It's such a good feeling. You know, when you can't decide on something, it's such a messy feeling. When you decide, like, no, this is me and this thing I will do. You don't have to know how. You just have to know, do you want it? So do some homework. And tomorrow, last day for the training, and then Monday we'll be back with a Q&A. So you've got the weekend to do the replays, come up with a load of questions, and let's have a solid hour on Monday night, the 1st of July, I believe. And we'll be on the Zoom, not streaming anywhere, and you can be seen and heard, and let's have a good conversation. But tomorrow we are going to talk about the last point in this self-confidence formula, and I've labeled it rock solid. It's a great point to end on. So I will see you back here tomorrow night, Friday night, 5 p.m. in Adelaide on the Zoom or live in YouTube. And I look forward to talking with you about the rock solid ending to this self-confidence formula. Okay, I'll see you then.